Hey guys, my name is Ryan Eggleston. I'm the founder of Maffoon, and I've been building a product called Open Harness. The goal of Open Harness, or what its core it is a sandbox as a Docker container and a unified file system for all of the most popular agent harnesses. Out of the box, it comes with Claude Code, Codex, and Pi. And I want to go ahead and give you a demo of it right in here because I believe there's nothing more than showing you exactly how it works. So there's a few ways to install it, but the default way is with this command right here. And we're going to run that so I can give you a demo of how it works. On the left side, I'm on my local file system with WSL on a Windows machine, and we are going to, I have Docker running. Nothing currently running, but I'm going to go ahead and run the installation command. And you'll see that it checks the dependencies of what needs to be used, and the dependencies are Docker, Git, and build essentials to utilize a makefile. We're going to go ahead and just roll through the default settings, but here it would allow you to pick your sandbox name. For the sake of this demo, we're just going to give it OHSBX 1. And it then will allow you to select which other optional harnesses that you would like to be installed inside of your sandbox. For this demo, we're just going to roll through with the default settings, but stay tuned for another video where we wire things like Hermes together with Slack. So we have Hermes, Open Code, Deep Agents, Grok Build is new. And then Agent Browser allows you to have a Chromium browser that it can utilize for things like QA, very useful. And then also the last option is whether you would like to mount the current host you're on's Docker socket to the sandbox. The reason would be is if your default orchestrator is on the host, you may want to have your sandbox able to configure basic Docker commands with it. So like stopping individual containers, starting them. The issue you run into is when you have the volume bind mount. So, oops, I apologize. I'll move myself here in the center. But as you can see, here are the options that it asks you select. We're going to say no because if you have a host with multiple tenants on it, you may not want them to have access to the Docker containers that are running within from their sandboxes. So you'll probably use this when you own the host and you expect nobody else to be on it and you're using it as your remote isolated cloud AI agent environment. So we're gonna hit no for that, and it's going to go ahead and run the build. This was already pre-installed on a first run, so it was a warm boot for this. Sometimes it may take about 5 minutes. It usually just depends on how many resources your computer has. So here is the way that you can configure from a YAML file. You can also configure via env. I like to use secrets for here and then settings for here, but you can really just do both from the env file. And then here's the basic commands for utilizing it from the host. Basically, you're going to start out at your root folder, and this is where it's located on your host system. If you run make shell from that part on that system, you will be inside your sandbox and up and going. Other than that, that's really all that there is. This is a very important command. Right when you get in the sandbox, I would highly recommend go ahead and configuring Git, the GHCLI, because then at that point, it hooks right into Git, and you're up and going with Git, and you can version control your harness from there. That's a really big piece of this, is that there's sandboxing, there is a unified harness, and then version control for your the evolution of your agent state and the files that you want to track. So now that we have the sandbox running, I can log into it a few different ways. Probably the most straightforward way is to, like it says right here in the documentation, go to the Open Harness folder at this root for this user. And you can see that we're inside the sandbox, and here's the name. And we don't have a remote. This is just it might be because I'm inside of another folder, but either way. You're up and running. You can go ahead and run Claude to log in. I'm going to do this from VS Code because it's a bit more it's a bit more, it gives you a bit more out of the box. So let me go ahead and pull that up. And I have I'm going to click here in this bottom left corner, and I'm going to go to attach to container. And as you can see here, here's the name of the sandbox we created. Should be good to go. We're going to create a new terminal real quick. We're going to get rid of the dev container log, and I'm going to open up the file system to the correct place. Once you've done this once, you usually don't have to really do it much again. Usually if you just open the editor, it'll go ahead and just quickly attach to whatever was last up. That's also really great for keeping container state. And also you can use this in a desktop way. I typically have agents on different machines on different desktops on Windows so that I can quickly swap between different editors and see the current real-time state of a particular agent. So now that we are running, you can see here we are inside the sandbox. Here's our sandbox name. Let's go ahead and get our GitHub authentication set up. So let's do Claude. It's going to ask us to authenticate. The reason I did it from VS Code is because one of the standard features of the dev container is it will go ahead and just like use the port forwarding from the WSL system to your Windows system, I believe because your VS Code is installed on your Windows system. So we're going to now, but in doing so, if you do this for VS Code, it'll go ahead and try to open up a browser in order to actually allow you to log in. So that's why it's a little bit more efficient when you go through a code editor as your primary interface for interacting with this. This is kind of like your power user interface. So we're going to go through all these settings because we're going to be inside of the root folder we want to operate within. So here you go. We are inside the sandbox. If I do Claude again, you can see that it goes ahead and we're still there. One check that we can do is, whoops, what's that? Just a random thing. The checks I wanted to do was basically running a health check from both Claude and from PyHarness to show you that both of these harnesses are basically configured in the same way and can be utilized in the same way. And it allows you to, not one, but you can compare a frontier harness like Codex or Claude code and build out your own as in comparison. And my goal was to try to get the familiarity in a PyHarness with Claude code because that's the one I'm most familiar with. And something that I found that was very interesting is that PyHarness is much more efficient in what I've seen with GPT 5.5 in Py than it is in the Codex harness for using tokens. So that was really cool. So there's some features out of the box that won't come on a typical Claude code instance, like this status line here that's already pre-configured. So we're basically giving you everything that you would want out of the box that you really haven't asked for and you don't know about, and trying to save you at least 100 hours, not only in the setup process, but down the road in a productivity point of view. So if this project doesn't get you back 100 hours somewhere, then email me and tell me exactly why and tell me how I can fix that. So let me go ahead and run the health check so you can see that the skills are the same skills out of the box between harnesses. So we'll run a health check there. You can see that it's going to go ahead and use the health check skill to see how it's configured. But here's how it works. Everything is in the .oh folder, and everything that is utilized by other harnesses by a similar configuration is symlinked into there. And if it's not symlinked, then it's something like memory, which is just built into their own. But then I want to be able to carry this with me between harnesses so that one doesn't have all of my information. I collect all of my information, and the model is just allowed to read it when I'm operating with it. But also I could use this on open source models because I can use Pi against open source models if I ever just didn't want to use any of the frontier providers. So as you can see, we have a clean system reading on our health check, and I'm going to go ahead and run a Pi installation. So we can just run Pi from this other one, and Pi is also configured over here. So we're going to run Pi, get it also authenticated. it's installing the plugins that I believe that most people are going to want out of the box. There's like sub agents, there's plan mode, a few other goodies in there. So I highly recommend checking out the kind of personalized Muffoon Pi harness. So here we go. So let's go ahead and we have to now authenticate this one. So you come in here and you run login with Pi. We're going to use our subscription key. We're going to go to ChatGPT Pro. We're going to use headless because you could use the other one, but it's just a bit of a lift. So here we go. We're going to go. If you're on a remote machine on a VM, I would probably just go with device mode. So I am going to try another method, go here. I'm going to wait for my email to come in really quick. There it is. All right, so here we go. And we can hit OK. And then over here, collect our code, run it. And now Pi is authenticated. And then we need to select the model. We're going to select 5.5. We have extra high thinking on, and we're going to run health check. So as you can see, both of these out of the box already. This is a very easy thing to do. There's more things than just this, like evals. Eval's a big one to make sure that your harness doesn't have regressions as you start to develop it out. But the other one is work trees. Basically, you want to be able to take your harness from, you don't even need to move your harness. Every project needs to be nested within your harness so that it builds context in its version controlled harness repo or your open harness repository, which we're going to hook up here in a second. And then you essentially have your projects nested within work trees. You can either have them already on a repo or they are just a folder there. But either way, if you do /worktrees inside of this particular harness, so open harness, the sandbox, it will understand that by knowing that the skill says, hey, we're setting something up new to work on, and it's going to have its own context and everything. We want to put it here. So it ends up going into the .oh folder and goes into the work trees folder. And that's primarily where your agents will perform work. They will work on things in parallel inside of their own work trees in order to not step on each other. So there you go. We have our health check that just happened through our Pi harness, and we even had it run through the memory process where it logged a memory for what we had just done here. So you can go here to the memory folder and see, hey, this is where it ran. I think that's, there's our health check. And there is their other health check. So this is actually our Claude health check. And then this is our Pi harness health check. So, but you saw that as a follow-up in both sections, it did the same pattern. It ran the health check and was able to tell. And then here you can see your usage stats. Well, I think I have to log out and log back in, but you can see your usage stats down here. That's going to be all for this demo. I did want to show you guys how to get a sandbox up and running on your local machine and then attach to it in VS Code. Oh, wait, let me do one more. I can't believe I almost forgot this. All right, so let's attach to Git. So the main way to do this is you're going to do git auth login. And then you're going to select GitHub and then choose SSH because it's just much easier to utilize SSH because it's going to generate a key for you in this process right now. And it will go ahead and configure it against GitHub so that you don't even have to do anything. So we're going to hit SSH. It's going to say, hey, do you want to generate a new SSH key? Hit yes for this if this is a brand new environment. And we're not going to save a passphrase. We're just going to call this sandbox at OHSBX. One, you may want to kind of get in the habit of maybe prefixing what the location is of this particular sandbox if it's on different hosts. But you can see here how we do our naming convention. There you go. And then it's going to say, hey, we need to generate a token. Just follow this link right here. It's going to open it up. I'm going to create a new token really quick. The way to do it is creating a classic token from what I've done. And that's usually the best way to kind of get up and rolling. So there's a 2-factor authentication for some of this stuff to just make sure that it is you creating a token. And then we are going to do this on the Sandbox. I'm calling the token the same thing that we just did with the name there. Configuring it for, I'm going to just set this for 30 days for now. And then I'm selecting repo and read org and the admin public API public key. I'm going to hit generate token. I'm going to delete this afterwards, so it's not a big deal if it gets exposed. But you can see here, we add that, and we are configured in GitHub now. So this is the benefit of this. We can now tell it, we can now just say, hey, agent, tell me, provide, well, what are the latest 3 repos we've pushed changes to? Use GHCLI. And out of the gate, it will be able to use the GitHub CLI to, for one, be able to go find stuff like that, and 2, it will also be able to create a brand new repository for you for some brand new project, and you can go see it. So let's go ahead and just do that. Use the /worktrees folder to create a new starter Vite project. And, well, let's create a private repo, public repo at name test demo open harness under, whoops, yes, that's what we want, under Ryan Eggs owner. Boom. So this is going to be the final part of the demo, but I do want to show you just how easy it is out of the box to have your agent become a software developer and also be working inside of an isolated environment. And you're very familiar with the tool set because it tries to build off of the most common developer set of tools and to cater to power users. So as you can see right here, we're going to now be able to select the repo that it's set up, and you can see that it's already created it. It's a public repo. You could go to it, create an issue to scaffold the initial environment, and create a draft PR for the README. So this should show you exactly how to get up and running into a software integrated development environment with an AI agent that you could very easily connect to over SSH on a remote machine and replicate the exact same thing that I have here, but there, and then I can close my laptop lid and go to sleep and know that it still runs and that I haven't just shut off the agent from being able to complete its task. So as you can see here, it's going in there. It's going to set up, I think it's already trying to clone, but let's go ahead and refresh over here. I believe the issue is probably already getting created. Yep, there's the issue. It's creating the PR. So here's the task that it just said for setting this up. And you can see now, if we refresh on the pull request, we have a fresh pull request ready for us to go review and get up and going. So that's going to be all for this demo. I hope this was interesting to you guys, and please reach out if you guys have any questions or if you'd like any assistance getting up and going. Talk to you later.